we're about to go somewhere odd now. Times to rise and elevation starts to drop down. Our little secret, don't kiss and tell, you're so bad. I'll probably see you in hell. Welcome to hell, baby. This is podcast hell.
New Year's Eve, the 31st, brand new year coming. And it may so be, why am I talking like a ghost from the 1700s? May it so be. No, let me tell you this. Start of the new year, a couple terrorist attacks to kick it off. What the fuck is going to go on in 2025? We'll see. A lot of stuff kind of hanging in the balance in terms of the, what's going to go on with Syria. I'm not going to try to sound smart politically, but I don't know. Who knows what 2025 is going to look like? It didn't start great. No. Terrorists mowing people down in the streets with a Ford 150. Not a good start. We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed that I don't have to use that apocalypse food that my dad sent me. My dad seems to know something is going on. He seems to have an idea. Is this recording? It is. He seems to know because it's weapons. It's like this food, that you can eat when you're out of energy. You just have like a Bunsen burner. Like, he keeps gifting us all these things that we'll need to survive zombies or, nuclear winter. And it's just like, my dad used to work on contingency planning in the U.S. That was like his job as a defense contractor, is like, what do you do when things go wrong? My gift this year for Christmas was a scythe. Because I played Death on America's Got Talent. By the way, if you haven't ever checked that out, go on YouTube, type in Death, America's Got Talent. Although at this point, the show's been on for so long, I'm sure contestants have actually died, so I won't show up. My character, the Grim Reaper, won't show up. It'll just be like, this fat 30-year-old that can sing in Wisconsin got hit by a tractor trailer. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen if you Google it, but I did that. So my dad got me like a 7-foot scythe, like with a big thing that you could just cut right through. I was going to say a burglar, but more than likely myself by accident fucking around with it. He seems to know something because a scythe, it's like a funny gift because it's like, oh, it's a little bit of a tribute to a cool thing I did in my career. But he's also kind of saying, like, you may need to harvest wheat in the coming years. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We now have more things to protect our house. That's nice. Thanks, Dad. Thank you for that. I'm not gonna hate on it. Like 29-year-old Eric would be like, what do we need weapons, man? We all have our hearts. I would come in here and just try to do like a little prayer circle with somebody coming in to gut me like a fish. 39-year-old Eric, 2024 Eric is like, yeah, someone comes into the house, they get what's coming to them. I'm a little more that swing, the swing that happens as you age. As you see changes in your life and your priorities and your bank account where you're like, yeah, I definitely care less about homeless people. I don't not care about them. I want people to get help. But if you push a dude onto the subway tracks, I want to kill you. That's how I feel. Anyway, I don't even know why we're doing this. Like, did you guys see my books? This is what let's talk about something positive. I'm getting into books. I've been getting into them. I got some good ones here. I'm reading The Toll. I'll take you through all of them. I got Bill Maher's book, Sapiens, which I've been slow reading Sapiens. I read about a page every 3 years, and then I'm like, it's because it's a fucking snoozer. What do I got here? This is The Coddling of the American Mind. That's a good one. One Shot at Forever. That's a baseball story. Why we love football. This is The Toll, which is like a book where it's about people that are hired to like kill Whatever, it doesn't matter. Who cares? I'm reading a book called The Toll. Philadelphia Eagles book, Confess Fletch, The Road, a book by John McWhorter called Woke Racism. Guess what that's about? Lying by Sam Harris, How to Survive History. That's a cool one. That's where they like drop you into like the Mesozoic area and you have to survive a triceratops trying to kill you. And then a book about pit bulls. So like, yeah, I'm like reading. Some of these I've already read, but I've been getting into reading. I've been kind of, I don't want to say conquering a fear, because it's always like, it was like a weird thing of like getting into a book. You're just like, oh God, like what if I don't like it? I'm gonna feel bad that I didn't finish a book. And I used to do this thing where I would just get like the hardest book to read. So I'd be reading like, Ulysses or something in Greek and with a translator dictionary. And you get like 2 pages in, and you're like, oh God, this is horrible. It's a 900-page book. And then I just wouldn't finish it. But like, I've started reading books that I like fun fiction books. And then that gives me I'm like, oh, that's fun. And then for 10 minutes, I'll read like a smart book. Like I'm reading, right now I'm reading a book by Coleman Hughes that's about colorblindness. And it's like kind of tracking the civil rights movement through the 60s to today. And I'm taking notes. They call it annotating on the side of the page. And I'm learning stuff. And then as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, I should read this book and I should get that. And I'm like, I don't want to turn into a smart book guy. That's a different kind of guy. I like being a sports guy. I like being a guy that wears bright yellow pants and sunglasses and has a stupid podcast. I don't want to teach people things on this pod or in life, really. But I guess it'd be good to have a love of reading. If I'm going to have a kid down the line, I probably want the kid to be a reader. Just give that kid a shot to do something aside from sales or comedy. Just give the kid a chance for a normal life. I think we talked about it with my wife on here. Like, what's like the most normal job you could land on as a person if you were raised well? And it was like middle management, So that's what I hope I can get my kid to. Is just like, you're one of the people working at a company that's hopefully not stealing people's ability to, get health care. That's a nice goal, I'd say, as a possible parent. My wife's not pregnant. I keep talking about it like she is, but we're just getting to that point where it's like, I can't be dumb. I have to know some things that I'm going to teach my kid. So I think like The Road probably has The Road definitely has good things to learn. It has things worthwhile in it. About like love and how to use tin cans and how to get nutrients out of your poop when you're starving to death. That would suck. I don't know how much I have in me to like really be out there in an apocalypse, I feel like I've gotten too comfy, do you ever get like the how much time are you on your phone thing on your iPhone? For the holidays, mine was pretty bad because it was like, you're not in your normal circumstance. There's like, like there was a ton of kids at the houses we were at. So sometimes I'd find myself just kind of like sneaking off to catch like a breath and like recharge a little bit. I'm like, oh, I'll play a little game on my phone. Like then 2 hours later, you're like, oh my God, where'd the time go? But like when you see that time notching up, you're just like, this is all time I should have been teaching myself how to like, make a fire or hunt for meat, revenant shit. You got to get some level of that if you want even. No one's going to value a comedian in the apocalypse. Like, life's too hard. The laughs you get will be when something comes to you easily after a year of hardship, and you just look at the guy next to you, and you're like, oh, that was easy. Though that's the biggest laugh you get in the apocalypse. There's no like roaring laughter in The Walking Dead. People are just mostly just sad and melancholy and thinking about what their life used to be versus what it is now. there's no value. Comedians were the first to go, and then once society comes back, once there's people are putting plaster down and building a second floor. As soon as you're at a society that's building, has a new construction, and it's a second floor being built, someone's going to have a kid that's born that's fucked up, and then that'll be the comedian. And he'll start like a little chuckle hut. You need, something's got to be in place for comedians to be valuable. I've made my point. You get it. I'm also, am I yelling right now? My wife she was taking a shower right here, and now I can hear her washing her hands. But I don't want to I get subconscious when people are around the podcast and they can hear me podcasting, because I feel like they're listening in. So now I feel my voice getting quiet. But then I've also been told that when I think my voice is quiet, that people can't, I'm still being loud. So like if I talk like this, you guys can still hear me if I do this? You can still, because I feel like you can't even hear me, but you probably can hear me. This is my voice, though. This is how I talk. So I just have to get over it. I have to accept that some people will be hearing me. Neighbors, the wife, the dog, people outside. I have a lot of people on every side. We don't have a corner unit, okay? How was your guys' holidays? Did you have a good time hanging out with the family? Everybody gets a little fatter. Nobody crushes whatever their weight thing is. So hopefully you plumped up, but to a level that you are able to come back from or handle emotionally. Don't spiral. Don't spiral from the holidays. Stay strong. You know what you got to do. You got to stand in front of the mirror naked and just flex your body. Or if you're more on the negative side, you make yourself jiggle, and you're like, I can't be a jiggle guy. And then you go. Whatever's going to motivate you. I don't know what's going to motivate you. But you gotta, it's January. Look, if you're listening to this, it's the beginning of January. So now's your time. Carpe diem, seize the day. Don't fall prey to the pumpkin pie. I know it was good, but you can't have it in January. The time is done now. Pumpkin pie is the greatest food of all time. Torturous, because I was at my mom's house for one of the Christmases, and she made me a gluten-free pumpkin pie. Amazing. I had to parcel it out because there's a deep within me lies Brendan Fraser in The Whale, and I would just house the entire thing in 15 seconds. So I didn't do that. But then we were at another house, and there was a second pumpkin pie that appeared on a dessert table, and that one was not gluten-free. So I couldn't eat it. That was 6 days ago. That's all I've thought about, is that pumpkin pie sitting on the table and watching other people cut slices out of it, and none for me. To me, pumpkin pie is the tastiest food. I don't know, I don't know what else. I'm trying to think what else is like a Christmas treat, like a Christmas ham or an apple pie. That's all good. I can't even really think of other desserts other than my thing. My thing is the best. Everybody else, you got to get a better. I don't know. I'm a simple man. I'll tell you the other thing that I'm a big sports time with the Birds doing great. And the question of whether or not they would play Saquon this upcoming Sunday against the Giants to go for the all-time rushing record. He's 101 yards away, which is I don't know. That's like the ideal. I mean, that's just like such a poetic number to be chasing. I need 101 more yards. And they're going to sit him. It's always that question of what's the responsible thing versus what's the thing that feels good to the competitor, to the person. I mean, that really is. It's such a metaphor for life, because that's all you're doing in life is there's you've got the responsible choice and you've got the irresponsible choice. I could stay up all night and I could catch up on Penguin, or I could go to bed at a reasonable time. I could get my workout in today. I could wake up early and refreshed for work. Get an early start. Get the dog walking at 6 o'clock. He loves the early morning walks. That dog will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning if I say outside. I shouldn't even say the word outside. He'll fucking hear it from downstairs. The dude loves it. But that's always the push and pull of this human experience on Earth, is like the responsible thing versus the immediate thing that feels good. And the Eagles, I gotta say, they didn't take the bait. They didn't eat the sweet. They didn't, cheat with the lady that wants to blow them. They didn't do it the bad thing. They did the good thing. They said, no, we're here for the Super Bowl. That's what the playoffs are for. This is a bye week. We earned that 2 seed. It's locked in. And we're not going to go for the immediate gratification. And that's an admirable thing. The other side of that coin is you would call them pussies. And you'd be like, nut up, it's a game. That's the other. And I actually kind of agree with that one. I'm more of a let's see that payoff now kind of guy. But I think as you get older, you probably have to start doing a little more like responsible versus irresponsible. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think how wild my 20s, not the 20s. I guess the roaring 20s were kind of crazy too. Kind of a lot of excess without like a real moral center to the roaring 20s. A lot of that, I got my dad a book from Calvin. It's not from Calvin Coolidge. It's from a lady, some Republican lady that wrote about Calvin Coolidge and how his he took government back, and the 20s were great. The roaring 20, just nailed the 20s. Everybody's got a bunch of money and stuff, and I don't know if that book's going to address the Great Depression that came right after, probably also as a I don't know. I'm not an economist, but it just seems like both sides always pretend like all the good stuff was them and all the bad stuff was the other guy, and no one can it just seems like a bunch of horse shit. It seems like we don't really know what makes things good and what makes things bad. You probably need a blend of both, and you try to you steer it towards the center-ish on that stuff. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I think I'm a politically savvy guy until I get into a moment like this where I'm like, let me try to articulate a thought on the U.S. economy. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have anything beyond, let me tell you something. And then it's just pure, have I eaten in the last 5 hours? It's how bad of a mood am I in? When I'm in a bad mood, I'm like a full-on CEO. I'm like, nobody gets, everybody's HMO is canceled. Make better choices, you fucks. I become a psychopath billionaire in my mind. But then if I'm if I've had a good day, if, my wife made me a sandwich or something, just if something just really put me on cloud 9, then I'm like, why do we even have to have grocery stores? Why don't we just share our food? Can't we just live in a commune? It takes a village to raise a child. That's also it. Both are in me. I think you gotta, if you want me to vote for somebody, you don't have to convince me with politics. You just have to either serve me a delicious dinner or a bad one. And I'll pretty much, you can guide me. That's the way to guide me. How bad of a mood am I in the moment a ballot must be cast? That will affect a lot. You guys, hopefully you are able to avoid all of this type of talk, this political talk. Hopefully none of that came into your holiday. I hope you were able to avoid it. We didn't avoid it fully. My dad tries. He tries to put it in. He's like, Jimmy Carter died. But luckily, he's not the worst president anymore. I'm like, relax. I'm just calling to see how you're doing after Christmas. You don't need to go into it. I don't care. I don't care that Jimmy Carter didn't handle the hostage crisis well in 1980 and Ronald Reagan was the only solution, according to you. Because I'm sure if I read a different historian, they're going to tell me how Jimmy Carter was the reason that we got those hostages back and that Ronald Reagan took the credit for it, that Jimmy Carter graciously gave that political credit to Ronald Reagan to bolster him because Jimmy Carter was a great American. And even though he wasn't a Republican, he wanted Ronald Reagan to be successful. So he gave him the victory on that. And now dumbass Republicans claim it as a victory when it was in fact a gift from a good-hearted, now dead president. There's someone that says that. And then there's someone that says it's completely Carter's fault. And Reagan came in there and he carried a big bat like the bad dude in Walking Dead, and he just cracked Glenn's skull open. Glenn, of course, being Iran. I think Iran had those hostages. Was it Iran? I think it's Iran. Anyway, I hope you were able to avoid it. You know, I had one debate with a family member that was interesting because he was using that like... Is it the Socratic method, right? Where you just like ask questions like, well, why couldn't we do this? Why couldn't we do that? Well, why would that be wrong if we did that? And you kind of like stake out this like extreme position and you go, well, that's not right. Here's why it's not right. Okay, so then if that's what I think, then that means we arrive at this. And it's you can't have those types of conversations in colleges now because you'll just be like, well, why can't it be an all-white government? And people will just like take that. So you can't do that anymore. You can't have those types of like say a fucked up thing to argue why it's wrong to find out what you really think. You have to just start with a list of all the causes you believe in. But it is interesting to have to think, to have a political conversation where like everything's on the table so you come down to the actual thing you think. And yeah, I don't know. I think for them, I'm trying to think now, like we were in 5 houses over Christmas. I think the politics only came up, well, man, maybe twice. It came up twice. And I was able to sidestep. I was able to, just guide away. Kind of like how Pedro took Zimmer down in that game. Red Sox Yankees, 2003. I think it was game 2. You just come here, you old fat idiot. Just down. Yes. Yes, Kamala should have won. Yes. Of course, Trump's a great man. Yes. You just guide them to the ground. You don't want to hurt them, but you want to let them know if you engage with me, I'll fight dirty. Now, what you really don't want to do is just make your spouse uncomfortable. That's really on both sides, both people. You're just like, you don't get in a fight with my family. I don't get in a fight with your family. We go home. Everybody still says they love the other person. That's what your goal is you're like, how do you just have a nice, clean time? I think kids help. Once you have kids, your stupid little feelings and opinions kind of like nobody gives a shit anymore. You're tired and you like put the kid in the middle and you surround them with adults and you all just stare at the kid and go, isn't that cute? You don't have the energy to fight about the Green New Deal. He's trying to make sure the kid doesn't put a fork in an electrical socket, which they will. You got to baby-proof the room, Those are the families that can have political discussions. Is there has to be a really good baby-proof room where you can stop looking at your kid for a minute to scream at the top of your lungs at your sister about her pronouns while your kid is trying to open up the window and fall out a 3-story window, but can't because you've installed child-safe locks. So that's how they should advertise those products. Fight with your family again. Drop the baby in here, they'll be fine. You see it. You see some people that have kids and they're just crushing it with the kids. I've got I've got examples where I'm like, you see the different styles and you're like, I'll take a little bit of that. I'll take a little bit of that. I'll take none of that. And you kind of build in your head. Everybody before they have a kid, they're like, I'm sure I'm the perfect parent without ever actually having had a kid. But it's good to observe the little day-to-day things that people are doing. It gives you a roadmap, a little bit of a roadmap. And then, it doesn't matter. Your kid's born and they have like a Hitler glint in their eye and you're like, oh God, it's all out the window now. Let me just make eye contact with this baby a bunch. That's what they say you're supposed to do. If your child is showing psychopathic traits, you just sit them on your lap for like an hour a day and you're the kid. You just go. You remind them that you're a person and they have to look into your eyes. You have to give them extra eye contact so they don't, hurt people. Isn't that interesting? Like you can literally find a way to put the humanity back into a kid just with that. It's wild. I mean, I'll do that. You go too far. And then the kid's going to be like, that leather couch it's filled with murder. That cow could have lived a beautiful. You're like, all right, I have friends from New York from my improv days, got way too much eye contact. Kisses from their dad on the mouth until they were 12. That type of man exists. You don't want to do that. You don't go that far. But you let them know, I'm a person. It's okay that you have your feelings. Now go to fucking bed. Now. You got a deep voice, male presence. It's important. I'm sure the ladies provide good stuff too. I can't tell you what it is. All I know is what the guy needs to do. The guy is there. It's like the lion. It's like you're like the lion. You're like, if someone comes into the house, I die first. Not I'll protect you, just I'll die first. And, if you're bad and I hear about it, my voice will get loud. That's really, and then I'll be at your games. Or if you don't like games, I'll be at your spoken word poetry events. Please, God, if I have a kid, let them like sports so that we can have a relationship, please. Could you imagine? I mean, you got to trick the kid into liking sport. You have to trick them. I don't know. I'll study more ways of how to do it. I'm reading one of the books I'm reading in here. Where is it? This one, Why We Love Football. It's talking about the guy that wrote it. He covered the Oakland Raiders. And he would said, like, when he was covering the Raiders, like, he would go to, like, one athletics game a year just to kind of, like, break up the monotony. And he said when he went to an athletics game, and this is true, I mean, they're gone now. Now they're playing in fucking Sacramento or something. And they're playing in a stadium that has, like, a hive of bees in the visitors' locker room. It's going to be a nightmare. But he said he went to this A's game, and the A's outfield is supposed to be like this super fun place in that crappy Coliseum they played in. He said somebody like gave him a beer, was like, oh yeah, you're that writer, great man, have fun. We're all family here, brother. It was like this kumbaya. And then he was like, yeah, but when I go to Raiders games, I've had beers thrown on me. It's like crazy psychopath fans. And he's like, why does this one group of people in Oakland go to athletics games and watch baseball, and this other group of people go to football games, and they're just the meanest people in the world? And then he realized that it's the same guy. The guy that hands you a beer at a baseball game is the guy that throws it in your face at the football game. And it's because it's like the sport brings out in you different feelings. Football is like, it's fucking aggressive. You're trying to hurt the guy. Nobody says that now. You don't say you don't want to hurt the other team. I think they kind of do. You don't want to like hurt them, but in the game, you're like, feel my pain. Feel this. In baseball, you're not trying to do that. In baseball, you're lollygagging. You're just hanging out. You're doing a lot of you do this, you're with your foot on the grass. Before the pitch goes, you get ready for a second and you're like, okay, nothing happened. Oh, thank God. Here's another one. Okay, nothing happened. You're just kind of pretending you don't hear the fans chanting your name in the outfield. I don't know where I was going with that. Sports are different. That's what I'm saying is if you've got if you have a gay kid, they're going to like baseball. That's what I'm saying. You can get your kid into there's a sport for everybody. I don't care if we got to go watch lady softball. I'll get into lady softball, but we got to see a sport. There's got to be a team or something that we can talk about so that you're not like, Dad, what are you feeling? I don't want that conversation often. Okay, we can have it once a year. But let's talk about sports. It works with my dad. Takes the tension out. What sport do you like, kid? Great. I'll read about that. We'll talk about that. So this has been Parenting with Erick Hellwig. Parenting Hell with Erick Hellwig. I hope you guys are good. I haven't asked you this podcast yet, but if you are watching on YouTube, hit us with a comment in the comment section below. And, of course, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Tell a friend about the podcast. That's always helpful if you're enjoying it. That's awesome. The more the merrier. It's a party. It's a party. It's a good time. I'm wearing fun pants. I had sunglasses on today. I took the microphone down. The thing I said was I had sunglasses on today. So anyway, I'm probably going to stop now because this is solo, and that's enough. But if you guys want to, hang out, be here next week, I've got a couple very funny comedians lined up for the month of January. So you're going to have some great shows right here. Podcast Hell. The next one's coming out. I can tell you the date. January 6th, maybe? No, the 7th. I think it's the 7th. Yeah, it comes out on the 7th. So look forward to that. Thank you, guys. Happy New Year. Hopefully you weren't one of the people in the terrorist attack. And, later.